Hey, it's Pastor Tim, the online campus pastor here at Northwest Church, and I am so glad you decided to join us on YouTube today. We have an exciting message for you today, so make sure you are engaged, leaned in, and taking notes. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like and share the video. Also remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can stay up to date with all things happening here on the YouTube channel. Now let's jump into the sermon.
Take your Bibles, if you would. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 27. The book of Acts, chapter 27. We are jumping into the Apostle Paul's journey to Jerusalem. By the way, this is where he eventually will lose his life. Up to this point, he's had an incredible experience. He's gone from persecutor to preacher, from madman to missionary, from a destroyer of churches to a builder of churches, a planter of churches. And along this journey, he's experienced many victories, including people being saved, people being water baptized, miraculously healed, and even called to preach. Yet Paul experienced several difficulties as well. How many of you all can relate already to the Apostle Paul? I mean, we have these victories, what we call mountaintop experiences, only to experience the valleys and the lows of life. Well, let me help you with this. If you're a cross follower, you're going to have some highs and you're going to have some lows in life. You're going to have some wins and you're going to have some losses. But Paul experienced difficulties as well, even after committing his life to Christ. As a matter of fact, it could be argued his life became more difficult after becoming a follower of Christ. The scripture says that he endured beatings, he was tortured, it was wrongful imprisonment, betrayal, starvation, and even public humiliation. Near the end of his life, as a prisoner being sent to Rome, we find in our story today that he's facing yet another difficulty, and it's a shipwreck. How many of you have experienced some shipwrecks in your life, okay? 3 of you have. Well, we're going to have a great time today. Well, I want you to listen to the words as he addresses not only a crew, but there's 167 fellow prisoners that are on this boat, and they're on their way to Jerusalem. They're on their way for prison. So I want you to listen to this. I'm in Acts chapter 27, begin reading in verse 21. Are you guys ready today? I'm telling you, if y'all help me, I'll download it today. Come on, y'all help me out. Here we go. With our appetite for both food and life long gone, Paul took his place in our midst, and he said, "Friends, you really should have listened to me back in Crete." Now, in Greek, that simply means "I told you so," okay? That's joking, okay, it's all right. So we could have avoided all of this trouble and trial, but notice this next line, "But there's no need to dwell on that now." Isn't that good? He said, "Guys, I told you so. If y'all would listen to me, we wouldn't be in this mess. But, by the way, since we're already here, there's no reason to dwell on any of that." Isn't that good? All right, from now on, things are looking up. Come on, somebody. From now on, things are looking up. I can assure you that there's not going to be a single drowning among us, although I can't say as much for the ship. The ship itself, it's going to be doomed. Look at verse 23. "Last night, God's angel stood at my side, an angel of this God I serve, saying to me," don't give up, Paul. Isn't that encouraging? Don't give up. You're about to be shipwrecked, but don't you? That's good. I thought it was funny. He said, "Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar." Notice this. He said, "Everyone sailing with you is also" what? "Going to make it." Now, that's where I'm going to launch from today. So I want you to underline that. You're going to make it. Highlight that. Circle that, because that's what we're going to be talking about. So, dear friends, take heart. He said, "I believe God will do exactly what He told me." Isn't that incredible? I believe God will do exactly what He told me He was going to do. But we're going to be shipwrecked on some island or other. So God's going to do what He said He was going to do. We're going to make it, but we are going to be shipwrecked. That's very encouraging today. So Paul had received this message from God, and it was a message of encouragement that basically says, "Paul, you're going to be shipwrecked, but the good news is you're not going to drown." How many will take that any day of the week? I can handle the shipwreck as long as I don't go down with the ship. Well, today I believe it's a message that can encourage you and me as well. Maybe you're in a place that you've never expected or planned to be at this point in your life. Maybe you have endured some things that maybe was unfair, or maybe you didn't think, I don't want any of this, but you had to endure them anyway. Today, you may be heartbroken. You may feel as if life has squeezed you into the corner, and it feels like there's no way out, meaning there's no escape whatsoever. I want you to know, be encouraged. I want you to look at me today, because I have a word for you today, and it is, you know what? You're going to make it. And you know why you're going to make it? It's because God said you're going to make it. That's what we got to know on this in this passage of Scripture. It's amazing to me. Prior to the shipwreck, God sends an angel, says, hey, the ship's going to go down, all the cargo is going to be lost, but you and everyone that's with you, you're going to make it. So I'm not saying you're not going to have some difficulties. I'm not saying that you haven't been through some difficulties. I'm certainly not saying you're not going to experience some future shipwrecks in your life, but what I came to tell you today is you're going to make it. You know why? Because God has already said before the shipwreck, before the valley, before the low, before the loss in your life, He already said, you know what? You are going to make it. Come on, isn't that good? So how did Paul know this? How did Paul know that he was going to make it? And how can you and I be reminded us today that we're going to make it as well? I'm going to give you 3 things. Are y'all ready for this? Or you better get ready because here it comes. Number 1, we got to stop looking back. If you're going to make it, you have to stop looking back. Look at verse 21. I'll tell you where I got this. It says, friends, you should have listened to me back, okay? Now look, notice this. He says, we could have avoided all of this trouble and all of this trial. But, I love that word but. Are you ready for this? There's no need to dwell on that now. Isn't that good? He said, guys, if y'all would have listened to the great Apostle Paul, we wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't be shipwrecked. We wouldn't have lost all of our cargo. We wouldn't be on some island that we don't even know has been here. I mean, they're stranded. They're on Gilligan's Island, okay? And who knows what's going on. And so my point is, it's human nature to look back on our past mistakes, our decisions, our relationships, our investments, and our career changes. It's so easy to look back. And even the Apostle Paul, he was looking back, and he says we could have and we should have simply avoided all of this today. Now, it's human nature to what? Second guess ourselves. Yes, we should have listened to ourselves. Yes, we should have listened to the wisdom of others. Yes, we could have paid closer attention to the red flags that God sent our way. But how often do we second guess ourselves? After we don't listen to the wisdom of ourselves, after we don't listen to the wisdom of others, after we just pass right by all the speed bumps that God tries to put in our path, and we pass by all the red flags that God's like, hey, slow down, don't go down that road, and we're going like warp speed down that path, right? Anybody know what I'm talking about today? And only to have a shipwreck, and then after we have a shipwreck, how many of you know it's human nature to second guess ourselves? Wishing we could go back and change decisions that we made or wondered, what if? What would my life be like today? What if I had not made that decision? What if I not had been involved in that relationship or started that job? How many of you have said those words before? Where would I be today? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's true. Hindsight is always 20/20. Hindsight is always better, but looking back at yesterday won't change today. I said looking back at yesterday will not change your today. So stop looking back, wishing and thinking that somehow if I look back hard enough and long enough, then some way, somehow, what that train wreck or that shipwreck that happened back there, if I look long enough, it's going to be as if it never happened. How many know what I'm talking about? I mean, that is close to just being nuts, isn't it? Well, I want you to know, Pastor Joe, the great man of God that I am, and man full of faith, I still do the same thing. You know, many of you know my story. I lost my wife a little over 3 years ago to cancer. And every once in a while, I'll go by the cemetery. And when you go in the cemetery, you do this big circle. It's this like a circle. And I go past that, a curve. And then there's her cemetery. It's got her name on it and all that on the block. And I'm just like, every time I visit that cemetery, now she's been gone 3 years. I want you to listen to this, okay? A great man of faith that I am. I still go around that curve, and for a brief moment, I think for a moment, her headstone's not going to be there. That her name's not going to be there. Just for a brief moment, I think by looking back, again, if we visit long enough, if we go back to that past mistake, that past relationship, that poor decision, we feel like if we go back and look long enough and stay long enough, that it's going to be as if it never happened. Let me tell you something. What happened in the past, it happened in the past, and there's nothing that you can do anything about it. You can't pray that past away. You can't change that past. You can't hope that past away. Whatever happened happened in that past, it's there. The only thing I'm saying today, the only way you're going to continue to move forward is by looking forward and to stop looking back. For some of us, you know what we need to do? We need to stop looking in the rearview mirror. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm talking about? I want you to know there's a reason this is the smallest mirror in your car. It's the smallest window in your car. Because if you look to your right, there's a big window. Why? Because everything to your right, it's important. Come on. And everything to your left, there's another big window. Why? Because everything on both sides of you, it's very important. And there's a reason that windshield is the largest window. Why? Because where you're going is what matters most. That's what's most important. And there's a reason this is the smallest window in your car. Why? Because once you get past it, come on, it doesn't matter what's back there. Come on, you're not going to run into anything that's behind you as long as you keep moving forward. For some of you, you know what you need to do? You just need to throw away the rearview mirror and start looking forward. Stop looking back and start looking forward what God has for you in this new year. So stop looking back. We won't get where we are going by looking back. Listen again to the words of the Apostle Paul. Now, even Paul, he's looking back. He said, listen, guys, y'all should have listened to the great Apostle Paul. We wouldn't be in this situation if you would have listened to me. But he concludes with, but there's no need to dwell on that now. You know what word now means in the Greek? Present. Oh, that's good. Y'all didn't get that, right? There's no need to dwell on the present. Why? He said there's no reason to reminisce. There's no reason to look back in the past. Why? Because the present is what's most important. I'm here to declare today that your precious present, come on, it's a lot greater than anything that's happened in your past. So stop looking back and start looking forward to what God has for you. I get it. We all do it. But there's no need or value in looking back at what wasn't or will never be. There's no need or value in looking back at what wasn't or will never be. Stop looking at what won't be and start looking at what will be. Stop looking back and wasting energy on problems and people that you can never change. Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, the Apostle Paul writes to the church at Philippi. You know what he says? He uses that line, forgetting the past. That word forgetting in the Greek, it's translated as to get it out of your mind, meaning to lose out of your mind. Have you ever lost something? Right? You lost it because you can't find it. Some of us need to lose out of our mind some of the things that's happened back here, forgetting those things that are behind us, forgetting our past. Lose those things out of our mind. I'm not asking you to deny those things. I'm just simply saying it's no longer of value to continue to dwell on those past. And if you don't move past your past today, then when? Come on. If we don't stop looking back now, then when? If not, we can live our whole life looking back at what wasn't or never will be. Come on. That is in the past. Come on. Are you ready, guys? Are you ready to move forward? Are you ready for something new? Are you ready for a new season of favor and blessing and grace in your life? Well, it starts with we got to stop looking in the rearview mirror and stop looking back at what's in the past. Lose out of your mind. I want you to look at me. Stop looking back. You're going to make it. I'm excited. All right, number 2, stop assuming there won't be loss. Stop assuming there won't be loss. Look at verse 22. He says, I assure you that there not going to be a single drowning among us. Although, I can't say that as much for the ship. The ship itself is going to be doomed. Now, I want you to note this. There was loss, and there was a great loss. Owning a ship in Paul's day was very significant. This was someone's business and livelihood. So this would be equivalent to your place of employment or your business burning down. It's not just a building. It's your livelihood. It's your means to provide for your family. This was not just a ship made out of wood. This was somebody's livelihood. Keep in mind, there's no insurance policies at this particular time. Someone's business plan went down with that ship. Not only did they lose the ship, but they lost all the cargo as well. So even though the businessman understood the risk, he still experienced a great loss. Now, let me help you out for a second. Are y'all ready? If you've never lost anything, if you've never lost anyone, meaning your life is all tied up in a nice little bow, and everything is just great, and like you have got it all together, like whatever you put on social media, if that's your real life, okay, and you're really that happy and everything is that great in your life, then you can check out just for a moment and take a break. But if you've experienced some loss and you got some mess in your life, I want you to lean in, because this next part, I got some word for you, okay? So if you got everything together, like you got your act together and everything is perfect, you can just take time out, okay? But for the rest of us, I want you to lean in, because I got a word from you, so I want you to listen up. Are you ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? Stop living as if you're not going to experience loss in your life. Because on this journey of life, we're going to lose some things. Relationships will come and go. We're going to lose some sleep. We're going to lose some money. Business deals are going to go bad. We're going to spend some emotional stamina. But we have to stop acting surprised when we experience loss in our life. We have to stop with this shock of, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is not fair to me. Because let me tell you something. If you are a Christ follower, you're going to experience loss. If the Apostle Paul, as good as a man he was, and as holy of a man as he was, and as close as he lived for Christ, if he experienced loss in his life as a result of following Christ, are you listening to me? You're going to have some loss, and you're going to have some disappointment in your life. How often have we said, well, I didn't see that one coming? It's like, duh. Really? Come on, guys. Listen to what St. Pete said in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. He says, stay alert. He said, watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He calls him by name. Your enemy, by the way, is not the person sitting next to you. It's not me. It's not your neighbor. It's not the person at work. Your enemy is the devil. And he prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. That word devour, when you look that up in the Greek, it's translated as a single gulp. He wants to take you out with a single gulp. Do you understand what I'm saying? With one swing, he wants to take you completely out of the picture. That's his desire. I want you to know that we should not get caught off guard or be surprised when the devil attacks our emotional, physical health, our finances, or our relationship. You make no mistake about it. This is not a playground that we're on at recess today in elementary school. This is a real battleground. The enemy, the devil, he is a great enemy, and he wants to take you out. I said he is the real enemy. He wants to destroy your relationship. He wants to destroy your confidence in God, in the church. He wants to destroy the relationship with the person sitting next to you. He wants to take you out in a single gulp. Some of you know loss all too well. Some of you have lost a marriage. Some of you have lost a loved one, or maybe a child, or a spouse, or a job, a dream, or even hope itself. I meet a lot of people today that have given up on life. I mean, you see it everywhere we go. People have lost hope. For some of you, all you have to do is look around, because your shipwreck is very real and it's very visible. And maybe all you can see at this particular moment from your viewpoint are the broken pieces of a broken life. All you see at this moment are the remains of what won't or ever be floating in the water. That's all you see when you look around. You look at what won't be and won't ever be. Maybe all you have are the pieces of what was at one time called a dream life. Some of you have listened to the shipwrecker for too long. Are you listening to what I'm saying? The devil has lied to you, and at times you have believed your present and future can never be because of the loss of your past. But I want you to know that you are going to make it. You know why? Because God is in the business of using broken pieces and broken people. When you read the Bible, I'm telling you, God takes what was broken and He makes it brilliant again. So if all you have are broken pieces of hope, broken piece of a relationship, broken piece of a life, of a hope that once was, or a life that you hope to be, if all you have are the broken pieces, you bring that to God the Father today, because He is in the business of taking what was broken and putting it back together again for you. I want you to know you are going to make it. Yes, you're going to suffer some loss in your life, and there's going to be some cargo. There's going to be some people that are going to get lost along the way, but you're going to make it, because God uses broken pieces and broken pieces to put it all back together again. How many of you have ever had a child or a grandchild bring you a broken toy and ask you to fix it? And even if you have to fake it, you fix that toy and you give it back to them, and that child acts as if it was new and had never been broken. I want you to visualize that with the Heavenly Father. And you bring the broken pieces of your life and your dream, and you bring it to Him and say, Father, will you fix this? Come on, and when He returns it to you, it will be as if it had never been broken before. Come on, you hear what I'm saying? I'm not done with this yet, okay? Are y'all ready for this? We're going to make it because God is in the business of using broken pieces and broken people. I want to show you something very important right here. Look at verse 43. It says He gave orders, this is Paul, for anyone who could swim. He said, for anybody who can swim, how many of you know if you're in a shipwreck, swimming would be a great thing to have, be a great, okay? Paul said, if you can swim, he said, I want you to dive in and go for it. That's good. If you can swim, dive in and go for it. But for all you people who are on this ship and you don't know how to swim, okay, he says, grab a plank. That was the whole punch. Y'all missed the whole thing right there. He said, if he's swimming, he said, I want you to dive in and go for it. But for the rest of you, I want you to grab a plank because everyone made it to shore safely. Remember what Paul told them ahead of time? He said, an angel already told me the ship's going to go down, the cargo's going to go down, but everybody that's with you on this ship, they're going to make it. Some of them swam to the shore. Some of them had to grab planks. Y'all not getting this. I want to show you. God did not use a new ship. He did not use a rescue boat. The Navy wasn't anyone around, and the Coast Guard didn't answer the call, or he didn't even use a life vest. But he simply used the broken pieces of what was, you're not getting this, he used the broken pieces of what was whole, and he said, all the rest of you, if you don't know how to swim, meaning you're in panic mode, meaning you're going down, you don't think you're going to make it, he said, all I want you to do, he said, I want you to quit looking for the rescue boat, I want you to quit looking for the Coast Guard and the Navy, don't look for the vest. He said, I want you to grab a broken piece of wood that's floating. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So it's the brokenness of your life that's going to get you to the shore. It's not going to be that magic moment where your ship comes in and everything is going to be okay. But no, God's going to use the broken pieces of your past that's going to carry you to your future. Are you guys hearing what I'm saying? Are you feeling what I'm saying today? So don't disregard that brokenness. Don't push that brokenness away. Don't wish that brokenness never would have happened, because it's the brokenness of the past. It's the brokenness of that ship that's floating around that God's going to use those very pieces that the devil meant to destroy you. And God said, I will use that brokenness and I will give you a brilliant future. Y'all not getting, y'all don't feel any of this today. As you look around, grab that plank and hang on. I'm going to show you this, because there's going to be times the only thing that's going to be left are broken pieces. But whatever's left, I want you to grab a hold of whatever's left and you hang on. And God's going to use whatever's left to take you to your future. Grab a plank and hang on. You know why? You're going to make it. I said you're going to make it. I got one more. Y'all got one more? I'm out of time, but I don't care. Here we go. Number 3, start trusting God. Dear friends, take heart. That word take heart, that in Greek, that means cheer up. So dear friends, cheer up. I believe. That word believe means to be persuaded. So here's what Paul says. Dear friends, cheer up, because I have been persuaded that God will do exactly what He told me. You hear that? God's going to see us through this thing. There's going to be loss. There's going to be some heartache. Okay? It's going to be tough swimming and grabbing pieces of wood and hanging on till we get to shore. But you know what? I believe God's going to do exactly what He said. That word exactly, by the way, is written in future tense. It means it shall be or will be. You're not getting this today. The Apostle Paul's words were spoken with conviction and authority because his trust wasn't in the captain, his crew, certainly not his own ability. His trust was in the faithfulness of God. And I want you to hear my heart. Don't send me an email on this next line, okay? You won't always be able to trust the government. You're not always going to be able to trust your job. You're not always going to be able to trust yourself. Come on, somebody. But listen, trust the voice and the wisdom of other people. Are you listening to what I'm saying? But there are going to be some shipwrecks in your life. There's going to be some loss in your life. And I want you to know that you can trust that God knows what He is either doing or He is allowing. Here's what I know. God's either doing it or He's allowing it. Either way, His hand is involved. And if God's doing it, I want to stay out of it. If God's allowing it, I want to stay out of it. You know what? At the end of the day, we either trust God or we don't trust God. Come on, are y'all hear what I'm saying today? So I'm here to tell you, when everything else fails, when the market is up and down, God is the same. Come on. on. When your friends come and go, relationships come and go, God is the same. He said, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. In the Old Testament, He said, I am God and I do not change. Come on, do you like the consistency of God? He said, I am God and I'm always going to be God. But how often do we act as if the outcome depended on us instead of God? As I take inventory of my own life, like many of you, I've experienced loss, endured heartache, pain, and loneliness. I don't know at times. I look back, I don't know how I've made it. I know some of you have looked back on your life and you're like, how in the world did I make it through that shipwreck? I should have went down with that ship. You know what? I still to this day, after 3 years of losing Lisa, I still think often of what won't ever be for me and her, and what won't ever be for Nathan and myself, what won't ever be for my son. I still think about that she won't be there when he gets married. She won't be there when he graduates from college. I still think about all of those things that will never be. But here's what I do know. When we visit the valley of death, when we cross the river of grief and climb the mountain of disbelief, you know what we're going to discover? That we can still trust God. Come on. I said that we can trust God, that He knows exactly what He's doing, and what He's doing or allowing, we can put our hope and our faith in God. We may not understand how we got here, and we may not understand why we're going through this. And for some of you, you don't even know how you survived this shipwreck. But I got some good news today. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying today? You can put your hope and you can put your faith and you can put your faith in an unchanging God, in a world that's always changing, when everything is always shifting. I want you to know you can trust God. Come on, guys. I said you can trust God. We no longer have to fear death. Why? Because we look forward to who is going to be on the other side. I have learned that I can trust God with my brokenness. I have learned that I can bring my denial. I can bring that God, I don't understand this, and all the questions of my why. And God, I don't understand this. There have been times I wanted to walk away from God. I questioned the sovereignty of God, the existence of God. But I want you to know God can handle the questions. God can handle the brokenness of your life. And when people let you down, God can handle all of that. So I'm here to tell you today, if all you have are some broken pieces of what was or won't ever be, you bring that brokenness to God. You know why? Because you can trust your Heavenly Father with your brokenness, and God can put it back together, and He can bring healing and restoration to your life again. So I want you to know you're not going down with this ship. Come on. I said you're not going down with this ship. God's brought you too far to let you down now. God still got a plan. God still has a purpose for your life. God still wants to use you. So grab a plank and hang on until we make it to the other side of the shore. God's going to use the brokenness of your past. And that brokenness of your past is what's going to fuel you. It's what's going to give you the faith and the strength and the wisdom, the desire to make it to the other side. Not the magic ship. Are y'all listening to what I'm saying? Not the rescue boat that so many of you are looking for, but the brokenness and the pain of your past. That's what God's going to use. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take that. And when I get done putting it all together, you're going to be stronger than you've ever been. You're going to be wiser than you've ever. You're going to be more blessed than you've ever been. You're going to have more favor than you've ever had before. You're going to experience me in a way that you never have before. Not because of the rescue boat, because of the broken pieces of your past. It's not the broken pieces. It's the one who's putting the broken pieces together that's going to get you to the other side. So put your trust in God. Stand with me.
Again, we want to thank you for joining us here on YouTube, and if you have made a decision to follow Christ today, make sure to leave a comment down below or to let us know at northwestchurch.tv. Well, if God has encouraged and strengthened you through this message, make sure to share this video with your friends, and we'll see you next time.